Hi there, my name is Vova, and welcome to a series of lectures how to take amazing pictures with your phone. In this series I will be sharing my experience and knowledge in photography, and hopefully it will make your pictures more fun and more interesting, more creative. I am pretty sure that most of the pictures that we take today are made with our phones, sometimes with cameras, but mainly with phones, so there is no reason we will not make beautiful and amazing pictures with the smartphones. So let's begin. The first lecture I will be talking about light in general, different types of light, and later in next lectures we will be diving into more subjects. So why talk about light? Light is the most important ingredient in photography, because basically photo is light. We are drawing with light, and it's very important that we develop a habit of seeing and feeling the light, and then we can make the best picture in the current light conditions that we have. To emphasize the importance of light, I brought this picture of sailboat I found on the internet, and for me it really represents how photography should feel. Very simple, very similar to a salesman when we take a boat into the sea. We have to feel the wind, we have to feel the direction of the wind, the type of the wind, whether it's strong or weak, changing or constant, and only then we can decide how to direct the boat, what sails to put, and so on. And very similar with photography, if we feel the light, we feel the conditions, the direction, the strength of the light, we can make the decisions depending on what purpose we're taking the picture for, and then we can create much better picture. So the questions that we want to ask ourselves are, where's the light coming from? What's the source? What is the type of light? And there are two types of light source basically. There's the natural light and the artificial light. The types of light can be either direct or reflected. Reflected, we also use the word indirect and also diffuse light. In the third lecture I will talk about more about this subject. Natural light can be created by two sources, sun or moon. Moonlight creates beautiful photos, okay, especially full moon. You can look it up in Google. Some photographers made really beautiful photos, but in this lecture, in this series of lectures, I will talk about sunlight only. And the sunlight can be found, of course, as a direct sunlight from the sun directly in the shades under the clouds, and we'll talk about each case in the following lectures. Artificial light can be created by lamps of different kinds and flashes, and each light source can create beautiful photos. Artificial light in studio conditions, for example, many beautiful images are made in a studio, okay, and the benefit of artificial light is that we have total control as opposed to natural light that we have to adjust to. Okay, so how do we know that the light is direct or not? And there's a very simple way of knowing it. We need to look on the shadows. The shadows really tell us everything about the light conditions. If we here, for example, on this picture of flower, if we see sharp edges of the shadows and deep shadows here, for example, and also on the background we can see that the shadows our eyes catch the contrast. Contrast means that there's a big difference between the bright and dark parts of the picture, and we can understand that the light is direct. Another example is this portrait that I made of myself. We can see also really straight lines of the shadows here and here and here and here. And if we train the eyes, we can very quickly see that the light conditions are of direct light. Also, I want to emphasize this part, which is very bright, and opposed to the shadows. In the next lecture, I will talk more about it, but for now, just pay attention for this. A reflected light, or I also called it indirect light, diffuse light conditions, create a total different effect. The shadows are very gradual. There are no sharp edges, and the picture is very smooth. The colors are also different a little. And we can also see it on the portrait. Okay, there are no sharp shadows under the eyes, under the nose, under the chin. Okay, very flat picture. We call it flat because the shadows are not as strong. And here we compare the direct light and indirect light, and you can see the difference, right? We can see the shadows here and shadows here. It's a big difference between them. Also here on the portrait, we can see the shadows here and here and here. As opposed to this picture, it's very difficult to spot the shadows. And my invitation is, the next time you take pictures, if you want to train your eye, just look and ask yourself, is the light direct or indirect? Where are the shadows? So look for the shadows. Okay, now I want to talk about direction. Direct light, as the name hints us, obviously creates direction. Here I took 4 pictures from 4 different directions. With natural light sources, as I mentioned before, we cannot control the light. We can only control the subject that we are shooting. So I turn myself to different directions toward the sun. We have the sun above me, from the side and behind. Okay, so in front of the camera. And as you can see, again, the shadows give us a lot of information. Here, by the direction of the shadow under the nose, we can see that the direction is from above or frontal, right? Here we can see the angle of the shadow, so we can and also that half of the face is in shadow. That this is the side light. Same with this picture, and here we can see that the whole face in the shadow. So this is how we know that the light is in the front of the camera. And each direction creates a different effect. There is no right or wrong here. It's just a matter of what kind of effect you want to produce. And I invite you to play with directions and see what effect, what mood it creates. Here I took also 4 pictures of myself from different directions, and here the sun was behind the clouds, not heavy clouds, so the light is diffused. And how do we know that it's diffused? The shadows are not as edgy as before, not sharp. Okay, look for the, it's the same direction as before. Okay, look here and here. You can see that the shadow under the nose, we still have a direction, but it's much more smooth. Okay, and in those light conditions, we can also see the direction clearly. Okay, the side light creates a shadow on half the face, and when the sun in front of the camera, the whole face in the shadow. And again, you can imagine what kind of moods you can create with those directions of the light in these light conditions. Direct light, as compared to indirect light, has advantages and disadvantages. So one of the clear advantages of direct light is that it emphasizes colors and textures. Okay, we love landscape. We take photos of landscape. Under direct light, we can see colors and textures, and it's a very bright and colorful picture. And in the cloudy condition, pay attention that the colors are not as bright and not as distinct as before. The textures are not as clear as before. So what does it create? Is it good or bad picture? I don't know. This picture gives a certain mood. It reminds of us of something. So it's very important not to stick to one kind of lighting conditions, but to have experience in each one of them and have a vision what I can create in each one of the light conditions. Okay, so that's it for today, and I invite you to play with what we talked about today, direct and indirect light, and the different directions of the light, and see what happens. So see you soon. Bye.